Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. We have Serge Abiaad here from La Distributrice de Films. We're going to hear a lot about short films, which the company focuses on, which is really exciting. So, hi Serge, it is so nice to have you with us from La Distributrice de Films. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first hear a little bit about yourself, if that's okay. What made you want to go into the film industry?
That was completely by accident. I'm actually from more of an academic background where I studied film and I taught film at university and college level. And then a friend of mine who's a film programmer at Festival Nouveau Cinéma in Quebec decided to start a distribution company back in 2013 and contacted me to see if there's any student of mine who would like to do an internship. And I said yes myself. So it started this way, and I kind of dipped my toe in the distribution world. And since 2013, I've been working at La Distributrice, and since 2015, I've been the general director of La Distributrice. So I went on teaching until 2017, and then at one point, it was difficult actually to full time be full time teaching and doing distribution, which in itself is more than full time. So I decided to just concentrate on that.
Amazing. This is a question I just love to ask everyone, just to get a little insight into how your brain works and the types of films that you're interested in. What
Hmm.
is your favorite film?
Oh wow! Well, I did my master's thesis on Andrei Tarkovsky, so
Okay.
I would say that he well that was back in 2008. So he's been dethroned since by other filmmakers, I would say. But yeah,
Defriended.
I'm very much into, let's say, experimental films as well,
Okay.
like Stan Brakhage and whatnot. But yeah, I would say a lot of Russian cinema and European cinema and
Amazing. What about Lars von Trier? How do you feel about him?
oh, I love Lars von Trier, especially when he's very controversial.
Oh, he's super
We live in a
controversial.
period where we need to be shaken a bit, and I mean,
Well, he shakes.
oh yeah, he does shake, and I think we need that more and more. I mean, to go back to Tarkovsky, he used to say, a good film is a film that does not please you because it makes
Mm.
you think. It gives you obliges you to take two steps back and to see things more holistically. So yeah, Lars von Trier is one of those filmmakers. I mean, I prefer his early films like the trilogy, The Element of Crime,
Yep.
Europa. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed his last film
Is that
because
the house that
probably
Jack built?
everyone hated it. So the house that Jack built,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
really
did.
like that one.
Still haven't seen it, so no, you need to watch that one, definitely. Yeah, the latest I saw was Nymphomaniac. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Nymphomaniacs.
Yeah. Oh,
You need to be in the right mindset for that one, definitely.
the whole 4 hours of it.
Yeah, the two parts. You
Okay.
watched it in one go? No, no, I didn't. Okay, I was gonna say. But within the same week, because I thought I would need to watch it whilst it was still fresh, the first part.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's move on from that because I'm sure otherwise we could just keep going and going and going. Oh, we
Yeah.
could. Tell us a little bit about La Distributrice then,
Mhm.
and well, since you've been working with the company, because there's a lot of things we're excited to hear from you, because
Mhm.
we haven't been speaking much about short films this week. So
Mhm.
I think it's going to be really nice to hear specifically
Right.
about that. But tell us what the company do.
So we started back in 2013, and we were solely a short film distributor at the time, and we would distribute maybe 5 to 7 short films a year. And
Oh,
then we've developed to distribute more films with a catalog of about 15 to 20 films. That includes 2 to 3 feature films a year. I would say that 80% of our catalog is from Quebec productions.
mm-hmm.
Um, 10% is probably Canadian, so Anglophone Canada.
Okay.
like from British Columbia or Nova Scotia or Ontario, etc. And we do take one or two films that are international. We've actually distributed a British film a few years ago that actually won at Cannes, Rate Me by Faisal Boulifa.
Oh, wow.
If you're familiar with the filmmaker, he just did his first feature film. So that was an amazing short film that did really, really well.
Nice.
And yeah, so the idea for us, our philosophy somehow, if I want to put it that way,
Hmm.
we look for films that, or more for filmmakers
Yes.
who explore certain cinematic territories and who are able to conquer those territories. So it's very important for us that there is a specific voice that is first and foremost an exploration of the cinematic language.
Yeah.
We are not very interested by stories, let's say. You were telling me about one of my favorite filmmakers. I did not mention, for example, Abbas Kiarostami, the Iranian filmmakers, who is not that much into telling stories. It is, it's not narrative cinema. It does look narrative. There is some sort of a background story, but it's more about how you plant your camera, how you try to capture the essence of film, and how you try and create emotions without being, um, like too, how do you say, what's the word, pathos,
Like maybe not spoon feeding the
Pathetic.
viewer.
I was going to say linear, like sticking
Yeah.
to
Yeah, yeah, it
a
doesn't have
beginning, a
to.
middle, and an end.
Exactly. I mean, everyone who studies film knows that famous sentence by Godard, who used to say, "Every film has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in that order."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, this is what we're looking for, and the idea also is to have, as a distributor, and probably most distributors will tell you that, is to have a homogeneous catalog, a certain editorial line, where films that are in different genres are connected somehow by that exploration of the Semitic language. I mean, this is our approach. We are more in exploratory films, sometimes experimental films. So yeah, I mean, the I, I guess one of the other questions that is going to come up is how do independent filmmakers approach distributors? And
Absolutely. That was on our list.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm probably burning
No, it's
bridges
Doesn't
there.
great.
matter.
So yeah, because I do participate to panels like other distributors, and I do have filmmakers who write to me for consultation or whatever, Um, so I always say the idea is not to throw a message in a bottle and hope that it will resonate somehow with a distributor and that you're going to be contacted and that they will take your film. And
Mm.
it's not a fairy tale. The idea is that producers and filmmakers do have an obligation and a responsibility to check out the different distributors, what their catalog
Yeah.
is, what their sensibilities are in terms of films,
Yeah.
how do the films in their catalog resonate with one another, and if their film corresponds to that editorial line, because you don't want your film to be very different from the other films in terms of um, like not the story in itself, but just how it looks.
Of
If
course.
if if I'm an experimental distributor of a distributor of experimental films, and if you have a very commercial kind of like a huge, I don't know, comedy with that's very linear, as you were saying, I'm probably not the best distributor for your film. I'm not probably going to be able to distribute it as efficiently as another distributor who probably has films that are more that corresponds more to your film. So distributors, sorry, filmmakers and producers need to draw a list of distributors who navigate the same, I would say, cinematic approaches. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm just thinking from a filmmaker's point of view here, is be like, well, where do I find all these sale agents and distributors, and where do I start my search, and where do I start my research? And a platform that instantly sprung to my mind was Zenando. It's a wonderful tool because everyone seems to be on there.
Absolutely, you're totally right. Zenando is like the Alibaba cavern
It
for
absolutely is.
filmmakers, independent filmmakers, producers, any delegates that are part of the film markets. Because not only you can research by sorting like the different aspects of the market, but you can also find the contact, the phone numbers,
Yeah.
the
Phone numbers,
emails.
emails, yeah.
Exactly. And then you can search through the website and see, because distributors don't want to, we receive tons of emails,
Yeah, of course.
propositions from filmmakers. We start the film that is being proposed to us, and we just scratch our heads and we say, like, what were they thinking? I mean, they don't want us
Sure.
to distribute the film if
And
they
it's
knew what we did,
Yeah,
you
and it's
know?
important to understand where your work aligns. And from
Mhm.
a film festival's perspective, the same goes for festivals as well, looking at which festivals are programming what kind of content,
I mean, you'd
Absolutely.
so that you're not just submitting
well, you'd
blindly.
save a lot of money if you did that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
So I
mean,
guess it
that's
goes for every step of the way.
exactly. So you're losing people's time, you're losing your time, you're losing money, you're
Yep.
losing effort and energy. It does take time, of course, to put those lists down, to do research, but you're not only working for the film that you have on your hands,
No,
you're also working for your future films
So
and your
true.
career to come. Um, and as you know, right now with the film market that is more and more online.
mm,
I mean, the specificity of film markets is to meet people, to have a contact, being informal or formal, to go to the happy hours, to have just conversation outside of the film realm. That exactly, yeah. Well, I've been drinking coffee for 9 months, So, and so now it all shifted to online, and it's much more difficult for filmmakers who do not have films in a specific
mm,
festival that does have a market.
Yeah.
But still, I very much encourage for independent filmmakers to go on Senando, to even participate and buy an accreditation, because accreditations are not, the passes are less expensive now that everything is online.
yeah,
So it's pretty affordable relatively to what it was in the
mm,
past, and you don't have to travel anymore.
Yeah.
So do participate to film markets. Check out the delegates list. There are distributors there, there are acquisitors, there are buyers, there are other programmers of other
hmm
festivals, and download those lists and work on them. I mean, this is how you should be working as an independent filmmaker. Unless you have a film that is being selected at TIFF or Locarno or Rotterdam or Berlinale, and you do get a bit of press, then probably the distributors will come to you.
yes.
But how many examples can we give of these
Exactly.
kind of
And yeah,
happy endings?
and I
So
think it's important to note here that when you wrap the film and it's gone through and it's done all the post production, that is not the end. Then we have to really work to get the
mhm,
screenings and the audience and get it distributed. And that is essentially the job of a filmmaker. And
mhm,
I feel like a lot of people neglect or don't think it's their responsibility, but it 100% is,
mhm, yeah,
especially when it
absolutely,
comes to short films.
yeah. And I just want to say that if you do not find a distributor, that's fine. Self-distribution can also be an amazing experience and a learning process,
Oh, yes.
because you're going to learn so much about the festival circuit. You're going to have a lot of hits and misses.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like uh, trial and error. You just navigate through that process. And eventually, maybe your second, your third film, you'll find a distributor and you at least know what it's all about, and you can collaborate better in that way. So it's just a small parenthesis to say that here in Quebec, for example, we work mostly in short film as a short film distributor. there's like 500 short films being made a year. And
Wow.
we are maybe 5 or 6 distributors who take 15 films a year. So there's probably 15% or 85% of the films who do not find a distributor,
Yeah.
or a lot of them who don't even look for a distributor. So there is still a life for your film without a distributor. But I know I'm a bit off topic because the idea is to talk about collaboration.
No, but
So
it's
it was
important
just a
to
parenthesis.
recognise as well, though, and I still think it's good advice, especially for you, said, as people who can't find those deals because it
Yeah.
is such a small market, which we've definitely learned over the years,
Yeah,
haven't
massively.
we?
But for short filmmakers, then, where would you say is the best place to self-distribute your work? Would it be Vimeo or YouTube, or Amazon Prime? Where
Mhm.
would you say is the best place for short films to live?
Yeah. Everything that is online. Well, it's this is a paradox because everything is online right now.
Yeah.
But eventually, we'll probably go back to some normality or normalcy. I don't know how you say it. Um, but everything that's related to Vimeo and to Amazon and any video on demand platform or subscription video on demand platform, being Mubi or Criterion or whatever, this is like the last step of the lifespan of your film. What you really want as a filmmaker is to navigate the festival circuit for 18 months to start with,
Yeah.
and then have some leverage with good selections to eventually go knock on the door of Vimeo, for example, short of the week,
Yeah.
and try to have your film there. Because if you just put your film out there, I mean, it's just going to be a drop in an ocean. There are so many films. Why would anyone want to see your film if there's no any kind of um, marketing around it, or like literal promotional work or marketing that comes through a selection in a important festival, uh, or many selections in lesser important festivals. So
Mm.
so as a distributor, the way that we work, and I think this is mostly all distributors actually do that, is in parallel to a festival circuit with a specific strategy, depending on what the film is, its length, its genre, its artistic
Yeah.
aspirations. You have a specific festival circuit that you need to navigate. Hopefully, you will get those selections. And in parallel to that, you start approaching as a distributor with all the contacts that you have, all the people that you've met through the years, through markets, physical markets, um, to start knocking on those doors and try to have the film on either that broadcaster or that platform. So, like just this month, um, we've had maybe 10 films acquired by the Criterion Channel. For
Very
us,
cool. Yeah.
huge thing. I mean, I feel that I can just slip the key under the rug and just close the doors of my company and say we did it, because it's a long it's a dream of us as a distributor
Yeah.
to be recognized by such an amazing platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but it's not all films that can just go on these kind of platforms. You do need to distribute a specific sort of cinema that do correspond to the editorial line of these platforms. But there are so many platforms out there. There are so many broadcasters who are looking for so many different things that there is a place for each film. So the idea is to find those places, and the distributor. This is our job. We are distributors and sales representative, so we know what the value of the film that we are distributing is, and we know which acquisitor, which buyer, which broadcaster, which VOD platform might be interested in this or that film. So you were saying Vimeo, maybe YouTube, Amazon Prime. Yes, but not right away, of course.
Yeah.
You need to get that leverage first. Um,
Great. No, that's wonderful advice. Thank you. Yeah.
So, speaking of value of a film, obviously that's all encompassing. But if we now speak financial value in terms of budget, from your perspective, your company in specifically, do you have all spanning budgets, or do you have a very specific range? Because a lot of our filmmakers are looking at the lower end, and we're sort of trying to find out where that sits with distributors.
Hmm. Well, here in Quebec, if a film is produced by the SODEC, which is a governmental organization for that helps out cultural companies. I mean, companies that work in the cultural realm, cinema, literature, etc.
Yeah.
If so here production in Quebec is state-based, so the state actually funds the films, or you can fund them independently. So if you do get those envelopes um, for producing your film, the distributor does get a envelope that's around 15,000 Canadian dollars to promote the film,
Oh,
which
wow, that's
includes
very
submitting to
cool.
festivals, posters, trailer,
Yeah.
everything related to marketing, press relationist, etc., etc. So that helps us a lot to put the film out there, to push as much as possible in terms of festivals, to push as much as possible uh, in terms of finding maybe a third party distributor for the
Yeah.
film,
Mm-hmm.
because independent films, it's difficult for us as a Canadian distributor to have a film in theaters in France or in the UK, or someone who would represent the film to sell it to TV. You need someone who's there on those territories and who is pushing and negotiating. So, I mean, we've worked with most films that we work with. We do not get those envelopes because they're independent.
Yeah.
So we work with almost no budget. So
Okay.
what we do is that we push for film festivals by trying to get as much as possible waivers
Mm.
or discounts to submit
Yeah.
the films, and hopefully when we get a selection, I mean, this is where everything starts. The first international selection of your film is considered the production year of your film. So your film is born or reborn somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get, this carte blanche to be able to knock on doors with that specific selection. Oh, I had that film. It was selected at the Berlinale. Are you interested to
Mm-hmm.
watch it? Of course, I'm interested to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you do not need huge budgets. You need a strategy for your film. I sometimes say that as a distributor, we are like cheap psychologists. What we do is a reality check with filmmakers and producers. We tell them, your film is here, you need to be here, or the other way around,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of filmmakers who are not ambitious enough about what they did, or they are too close to their film. They don't have they can't take a step back and
Yeah.
see how interesting their film is.
Mm.
Um, so I kind of lost what I was saying, the idea of.
No, it's interesting because we advise filmmakers to save at least 1/3 of their
Mhm,
budget to
mhm.
market and submit to film festivals, and I think that's quite a lot. Obviously, depending on how much they made the film for in the first place,
Right.
but that's a healthy budget, and it
Mhm.
should get you
That's
through.
interesting because I never thought about it in terms of ratio. I always, I mean, we do with what we have. We're an
Of course.
independent distributor as well. So we are not state funded unless we have those films that are being funded by the state, and then we can have an envelope to market them, which is not a lot still. I mean, if you work with $15,000, I mean, a press relation person is half
Yeah,
that
of
budget.
course.
You
Yeah.
know? And so, it's like once we had a film that was selected at Slam Dance,
Oh, nice.
uh, and so we thought that was an amazing selection, and we had to surf that selection and try to gain as much as possible attention from the acquisitors, from the buyers, and from the third-party distributors, especially in the States, because it's a very difficult market to enter, especially for francophone films from Quebec uh,
Yep.
and independent films. So because the film was at Slamdance, which is a pretty important selection, we were able to get some money to travel and to hire a uh, I don't know if you call them press in French it's relationniste de presse. So
Yeah, press officers, we call them, or
right,
PR
press
agents.
exactly. So and we got someone who lived in Park City and who knew the festival inside out, who knew the everyone there. So it was totally worthwhile spending 4,000 Canadian dollars, which was a lot.
Out of that budget,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, and we ended up, um, kind of it paid off somehow because we did get a lot of interest from a lot of distributors and from broadcasters, and it's a risk to take. I mean, yeah, we spent those $4,000 hoping somehow to get it back, but it wasn't a win-win situation from the start.
So do you only work with projects then that are completed and are ready for the festival circuit? Yeah.
I would say 90% yes, even more.
Okay.
Sometimes we receive scripts, um, but I'm a very bad script reader because it's like I read it as I'm reading a book, and it's not literature, and I need to, like just accept the fact that it's not. So it's and I don't have a huge imagination, so I can't project like the final result. But
It's
Sure.
if it,
difficult.
No, but this is why things like sizzle reels, and
Mhm.
even if you have just a short minute vision of what that film is going to
Mm.
be
Yeah,
alongside the script, it just, as you said, it allows your imagination to realize what the script is trying to achieve.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
so this is why it usually needs to be like the second film that is being in production, so I can at least watch the first film,
Yeah.
or know something about the filmmaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're an independent, very small distributor, so we don't have those resources to put a minimum guarantee on a script and say, okay, I wanna be the distributor of your future film, so I'm putting down $10,000 as a minimum guarantee. We know that the films that we work with, um, they they all they're all made in that very independent artisanal what's artisanal like a craftswoman approach to filmmaking. So
Hmm.
we know that
Like that term.
the theatrical releases are not going to be huge. It's going to
Yeah.
be probably be a tough sale. So we can't put all these huge envelopes, promotional envelopes or minimum guarantee envelopes. So um, yeah, I mean, for as an independent filmmaker or distributor, the less sometimes the better, because you work with those constraints, especially budgetary constraints, which forces you to go out there and to battle and to have those waivers and
It's true.
to knock on doors and sometimes kick in doors, to have like an acquisitor get a look at the film. I
Yeah.
mean, this is what we do. We without being violent or aggressive, of course. I mean,
Well,
we know who might be interested. We're not going to knock on doors knowing that we're not going to go to Shoreline Films and say we
yeah.
have that
Yeah.
independent films. I mean, it doesn't have any sex scenes, it doesn't have any blood, it doesn't have a story. So, I mean, I wouldn't be doing uh, rightfully doing my job if I'm just throwing those messages in a bottle.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to ask you, especially because we haven't been speaking much about short films in some of our other conversations, is where you see the future of short films on some of the more popular platforms like Netflix, Amazon. Do you think there will be growing demand for them? Or if there
Mhm.
is a growing demand, when we might be seeing some of that content appearing?
Oh, it's already out there. I mean, short film right now is like the cockroach after a nuclear explosion. It's a survivor, because feature films, like you've seen it. I mean, the only platform they have are festivals right now. I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly.
the independent films here in Quebec, because that's the only experience I have right now. I mean, we don't have any theaters that are open. It's probably the same case in the UK.
Yes,
I don't know.
everywhere's shut. Yeah.
Right. So short films, I mean, they're there. I mean, they've been there for a long time. Look at Vimeo, how much
Yeah.
emphasis they put on
Yeah.
short films. There are so many YouTube channels.
Yeah, when we could sort of, I think one of the things we often talk about with our co-founders is hopefully a growing demand for distribution with short films that can actually generate revenue for filmmakers rather than having to self-fund, for instance, with limited funds and not see any return on that.
Mhm. Well, I mean, independent short filmmakers should not be looking for um, generated revenues, because there is generated revenues from a short film, but it's not going to pay your rent. I mean, I mean, some say that, a short film is like a trampoline, for eventually
Yeah.
being able to do your feature film, because you have something on your CV, and you have some visual, and it's like a test that you pass. I always thought that a film, I mean, either you are a filmmaker or you're not. You don't make a short film to become a filmmaker. You are a filmmaker, so you do a short film.
We certainly believe that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have to spread that more, that idea that it's not an exercise in itself. It is an end in itself. Um, it's like a short story and a novel. You don't write a short story to eventually write a novel. If you do write a short story, you're a writer, and that's it. Um, so you know, there's so many different avenues to generate revenue from short films. There's, of course, the screening fees and festivals. You have to ask for them, because programmers will not tell you we're selecting your film and we're paying you £100 to screen it. You have to ask for it, and you have to justify your stance as an artist that you need to be paid for your art. As a distributor, we do that, because we're a business, so we need to generate money, but we have to give back to the filmmakers. Um, there's obviously the acquisitions for broadcasting. Here, for
Mm.
example, in Canada, CBC pays $400 a minute for a film. So if you have a 22-minute film,
Wow.
you know, it's probably going to pay your rent for 3 months, but still, I mean, uh, it's and you're going to have so much visibility. I mean, that's the other thing. People who don't want to pay for your film to broadcast it or to show it, they're going to tell you you're going to have a lot of visibility. Visibility does not pay for your rent, of course. And why not both? Why not recognize the work of an artist and give him visibility? I mean, that's part of your job as someone broadcasting. Uh, you're the in between your public and the artistic community. So, and also there's VOD platforms. I mean, um, so VOD platforms don't pay that much, but SVOD platforms, so subscriber video on demand,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
pay a flat fee to have your film. Um, and what's interesting is that most platforms, online platforms, are non-exclusive. So you can go and work with another platform, you know. And this is why I was saying, you were saying earlier that like Vimeo eventually have your film on Vimeo. And I was saying it's best to put it at the end, because Vimeo will not pay you,
Mm.
but you will have a lot of visibility for your film. So the idea is to generate as much as possible money from the film and then have it out there for anyone to see for free when you have finished your festival circuit and when you have tried everything that you could in terms of selling it to broadcasters and platforms.
Thank you so much for your time. That was absolutely amazing. There's going to be so much good advice there for our filmmakers, and it's just great to touch base with so many wonderful people and getting your point of view on what the marketplace is doing, what festivals are doing, and how best to work with your short film after it's been made. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Serge.